The snow crunched beneath Hyun Park's heavy boots as he made his way through the dense Alaskan wilderness. A forest ranger for 15 years, he knew these woods like the back of his hand. The morning was crisp, with temperatures hovering just below freezing, and a light mist hung between the pine trees. Something felt different today. The usual silence of the forest seemed interrupted, a subtle vibration that Hyun couldn't quite explain. His instincts, honed by years of tracking and survival, were on high alert. He adjusted the heavy backpack on his shoulders and continued his routine patrol. It was then that he saw it. A massive gouge in the forest floor, trees snapped like matchsticks, a trail of destruction that stretched for hundreds of meters. At first, Hyun thought it might be a meteor strike or perhaps a massive equipment malfunction. But as he moved closer, the scale of what lay before him became increasingly bizarre. The wreckage was unlike anything he had ever seen. Metallic fragments of impossible design were scattered across the snow-covered ground. The metal seemed to shimmer with an almost liquid quality, reflecting light in ways that defied normal physics. Some pieces were larger than his ranger truck, twisted and broken in impossible angles. Hyun approached carefully, his hand instinctively moving to the emergency radio at his belt. But something told him not to call this in just yet. The sight felt personal, like a secret waiting to be discovered. As he moved through the debris field, he noticed intricate patterns on the metal fragments. They weren't random breaks, but seemed to have a deliberate, almost organic design. Some pieces still hummed with a faint energy, sending small vibrations through the frozen ground. Then he saw movement. Between two massive pieces of twisted metal, something was breathing. Not human. Not any animal he had ever encountered. A glimpse of silvery skin, the faint outline of a form that didn't quite make sense to human eyes. Hyun's survival training kicked in. He had rescued injured hikers and wildlife before, but this was entirely different. Whatever lay in the wreckage was clearly not from this world. He approached slowly, each step calculated and careful. The creature, for lack of a better word, seemed injured. Its breathing was labored, creating small clouds of vapor in the cold air. Intricate biological and mechanical components were visible through torn sections of what appeared to be some kind of protective suit. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. No birds chirped. No wind rustled the pine branches. It was as if the entire wilderness was watching this moment of first contact. Hyun knelt down, his ranger medical kit already open. He had treated countless injuries in these woods, from wolf attacks to climbing accidents. But nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to do. As he reached out, the creature's eyes flickered open. They were not human eyes. Not even close to any animal eyes he had ever seen. They were large, with multiple layers of what looked like living irises, shifting colors like oil on water. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The alien, because Hyun knew now that's exactly what this was, looked directly at him. There was intelligence there. Pain. Something that transcended the biological differences between them. Hyun's hand was now inches from the creature. He could feel a strange warmth radiating from its body, different from any heat he had ever experienced. The medical training that had saved so many lives in these wilderness now faced its most extraordinary challenge. Little did Hyun know that this moment would change everything. Not just for him, but for the entire human race. Something had arrived in the Alaskan wilderness. And nothing would ever be the same again. The alien's breath came in short, ragged gasps. Hyun carefully moved the metallic debris, creating enough space to assess her injuries. Her body was unlike anything he had ever seen, its silvery skin that seemed to shift and shimmer, with complex biological circuits running like intricate veins beneath the surface. He pulled out his first aid kit, knowing full well that human medical supplies would likely be useless. But instinct drove him forward. The creature, a female, he realized, had multiple wound sites that pulsed with a strange inner light. Some wounds seemed to be trying to heal themselves, with small metallic tendrils reaching out and reconnecting. Hyun's ranger training had taught him about survival. Warmth. Stabilization. Protection from further injury. He carefully removed his thick winter jacket and wrapped it around the alien's body. Her temperature was unlike anything he expected, not cold, not warm, but something in between that felt like a gentle electrical current. Her eyes flickered open again. Multiple layers of irises adjusted, focusing on Hyun with an intensity that made him feel like she was reading his entire existence in a single glance. A small device on her wrist began to emit a soft humming sound. Lat ion, active, a mechanical voice emerged, struggling to form words. Hyun remained still. He had encountered injured animals countless times, but this was different. This was intelligent life. Potentially dangerous intelligent life. I am Rhea, the voice continued. Reconnaissance. Damaged. Her hand, if it could be called a hand, reached out. Metallic fingers that seemed part organic, part machine, touched Hyun's jacket. The fabric began to shift slightly, as if responding to some internal scanning process. You helped, Rhea said, her mechanical translation struggling with human language. Most would run. Hyun's mind raced with questions. Where did she come from? What was her mission? The wreckage suggested a massive spacecraft, technology far beyond human understanding. Yet here she was, vulnerable, dependent on a simple forest ranger in the middle of an Alaskan wilderness. Water, Rhea whispered. Her throat seemed to be changing color, indicating some form of internal distress. Hyun reached for his canteen. As he brought it closer, the water itself seemed to react, small particles separating, responding to something in Rhea's biological structure. When he carefully helped her drink, the liquid almost seemed to flow differently, adapting to her physiology. Your world, Rhea said, her voice gaining strength, not what reports suggested. A warning? A statement? Hyun couldn't tell. The translation seemed partial, incomplete. But something in her tone suggested complexity. Danger, perhaps. But not immediate threat. The forest around them remained unnaturally quiet. No wind. No animal sounds. Just the soft breathing of the alien and the distant sound of snow occasionally dropping from pine branches. Hyun noticed her wounds were changing. The metallic tendrils were actively working, rebuilding, reconstructing. Her body seemed to be a living machine, capable of self-repair in ways human medical science could barely comprehend. You need help, Hyun said simply. It wasn't a question. Rhea's multiple layered eyes focused on him. For a moment, he felt like she was analyzing every aspect of his being. His intentions. His potential. His species. Help, she repeated. But the words seemed to carry more weight. A recognition. A potential alliance. As darkness began to fall over the Alaskan wilderness, Hyun made a decision that would change everything. He would protect this alien. Learn from her. And potentially save his entire world from something she clearly knew was coming. First contact had begun. Not with governments or military. But with a simple forest ranger, in the middle of nowhere, with an injured alien who carried secrets that could determine humanity's future. The small cabin felt different now. Hyun had transformed his living space into a makeshift medical area, with strange alien technology mixing alongside simple wilderness survival equipment. Rhea lay on a reinforced camping bed, her body continuing its remarkable self-repair process. Her translation device had become more stable. Words came easier now, revealing a complex story of interstellar conflict. The Krull Empire, a ruthless space-traveling civilization, was planning a systematic invasion of Earth. Not for resources. Not for territory. But as a strategic elimination of a potential future threat. Humans are unpredictable, Rhea explained, her metallic fingers tracing complex holographic maps that emerged from a small device. Your species adapts faster than any encountered in 12 star systems. Hyun listened carefully. He understood survival. He understood adaptation. These were skills he had learned surviving in the harshest wilderness conditions. The alien's assessment of humanity felt strangely accurate. The holographic maps showed invasion routes, potential landing zones, strategic military positions. Rhea was sharing classified information from her civilization, details that could potentially save billions of human lives.
Why are you telling me? Hyun asked.
The question was simple but carried significant weight.
Rhea's multiple-layered eyes shifted colors.
A sign, Hyun had learned, of complex emotional processing.
Because you did not abandon me.
Because you chose help over fear.
Outside, the Alaskan wilderness remained silent.
Snow continued to fall, covering the crashed spacecraft's remaining fragments.
No one knew what had happened here. No one except Hyun and Rhea.
Her technological implants began displaying complex calculations.
Invasion probability. Potential human resistance capabilities.
Survival percentages. The numbers were not encouraging. The Krull Empire's technological superiority seemed overwhelming.
But Hyun saw something the calculations didn't show. Human spirit. Human creativity.
The ability to turn impossible situations into opportunities. "We can fight," Hyun said simply. Rhea's translation device converted his words, but something in his tone suggested more than just language.
Determination. Hope. Resistance. They began planning. Rhea's technological knowledge combined with Hyun's understanding of Earth's terrain created a unique strategy. They would not rely on traditional military responses.
They would use unconventional methods.
Wilderness survival techniques. Communication disruption strategies. Local knowledge that no advanced technological civilization could predict.
Hyun's network of ex-military contacts, survival experts, and local community leaders would become their secret weapon.
The Krull expect structured resistance, Rhea explained.
They will not understand guerrilla tactics.
Local adaptation. Community-based response. Hyun understood immediately.
In the wilderness, survival was about adaptability.
About using limited resources creatively. About understanding your environment better than any external threat. As night fell, their unlikely alliance took shape. An alien reconnaissance officer. A forest ranger. Two beings from completely different worlds, united by a single purpose. Preventing a planetary invasion.
The first communication devices were modified. Using Rhea's advanced technology and Hyun's local communication networks, they began creating an underground resistance framework.
Not a military structure, but a flexible, adaptive system that could respond quickly and unpredictably.
"They will not expect this," Rhea said, her translation device now perfectly mimicking human speech patterns.
Hyun simply smiled.
A smile that said more than words.
A smile that represented human resilience. The ability to turn unexpected challenges into opportunities. Their alliance was not just about survival.
It was about proving that adaptability, creativity, and unexpected cooperation could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The invasion was coming. But Earth would be ready.
Not through traditional military might,
but through something far more powerful, human spirit. And it all started in a small cabin, in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, with an alien and a forest ranger planning humanity's most unexpected defense. The abandoned military communication station in the remote Alaskan mountains became their primary base.
Hyun had known about this location from his ranger connections, a forgotten Cold War relic that would now become humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion. Rhea's alien technology merged with human communication systems in ways no military engineer could have imagined.
Old radio equipment sparked with new life, modified circuits creating a network that could communicate across vast distances without traditional signals that could be easily detected.
Jinwoo arrived first.
A former Special Forces operator with a reputation for unconventional thinking, he brought a network of contacts that spanned military, survival, and underground communities. His weathered face told stories of missions most people would never understand. "We're not building an army," Hyun explained to the small group gathered in the dimly lit communication center.
"We're building a response system."
Eun-ji, a communication systems engineer with wild eyes and fingers that moved like lightning across modified alien tech, began setting up complex communication relays.
Her expertise in signal manipulation would become crucial. Traditional military communication could be tracked. Their network would be unpredictable. Rhea projected holographic maps showing potential invasion routes. The Krull Empire's technology was advanced, massive ships capable of devastating entire continents. But their strategic thinking was rigid. Predictable. They expected organized resistance, military formations, central command structures. They would get something entirely different. Each team member brought unique skills. Jinwoo's military tactics. Eunji's communication expertise. Hyun's wilderness survival knowledge. And Rhea's alien technological insights. The plan was simple but complex. Create a decentralized resistance network that could adapt instantly. No central command meant no single point of vulnerability.
Small teams spread across different terrains, mountains, forests, coastal regions, each prepared to act independently but coordinated through their unique communication system.
Alien technology was modified to work with human equipment. Old satellite systems were brought back to life.
Communication protocols were redesigned to be constantly shifting, making traditional interception impossible.
They will expect computers, Rhea explained. We will use something more unpredictable. Human creativity. Training began immediately.
Not traditional military training,
but survival training. Adaptation training.
Learning to use limited resources in unexpected ways.
Understanding terrain. Understanding local environments. The Mountain Communications Center became a hub of controlled chaos. Modified communication devices. Alien technology integrated with human systems. Maps showing potential invasion zones constantly updated. Jinwoo brought survival experts from various backgrounds. Mountain guides. Wilderness survival instructors. Ex-military personnel who understood guerrilla tactics. Each brought unique skills that could be weaponized against a technologically superior enemy. Eunji's communication systems could now send encrypted messages that would appear as random environmental noise. Weather reports. Wildlife tracking signals.
Natural communication patterns that would blend perfectly with Earth's existing communication networks.
Hyun understood their greatest weapon was not technology. It was unpredictability. The ability to adapt.
To use limited resources creatively.
Lessons he had learned surviving in the harshest wilderness conditions would now be applied to defending an entire planet. As weeks passed, their network grew. Small teams in different locations, each prepared, each connected through their unique communication system. No central command. No single point of weakness. The Krull Empire would be expecting a traditional military response. They would find something entirely different. A planet preparing to fight. Not with massive armies, but with creativity. With adaptation. With a spirit that refused to be conquered. The invasion was coming. But Earth would be ready. Not through traditional military might, but through something far more powerful. Human spirit. The first Krull ships entered Earth's atmosphere like silent giants.
Massive vessels that blocked out sunlight, their technology so advanced it seemed almost magical.
They expected a quick conquest, a simple elimination of a species they considered primitive. They were wrong.
Hyun's decentralized network activated simultaneously across multiple continents.
No single command.
No predictable response.
Just hundreds of small teams, each prepared, each understanding their unique terrain. In the Alaskan wilderness, Hyun's team used modified communication systems to create electronic ghosts. False signals that confused Krull tracking technology.
Entire invasion squadrons were redirected into mountain ranges, Arctic regions, places where their advanced technology became a liability. Jinwoo's special forces background proved crucial. They used terrain as a weapon.
Mountain passes became death traps. Dense forests became invisible battlegrounds.
The Krall's massive technological advantage suddenly meant nothing.
Unji's communication network was their most powerful weapon.
She could make their resistance appear everywhere and nowhere simultaneously.
One moment, a signal would suggest massive military concentration in one location.
The next moment, complete radio silence.
Rhea provided critical insights into Krall invasion protocols.
Their military thinking was rigid,
structured.
They expected organized resistance.
Instead, they found a living, breathing network that could change tactics in milliseconds. Small teams used unconventional weapons, modified mining equipment, industrial machinery. Local resources transformed into defense mechanisms.
The Krall had never encountered a species that could weaponize everyday technology so quickly. In coastal regions, fishing boats became unexpected defenders. In mountain communities, ski equipment became tactical gear.
Every human became a potential resistance fighter. The Krall's first wave of invasion began to collapse. Their massive ships, designed for traditional warfare, became vulnerable in Earth's complex geographical environments. Mountains, forests, oceans, each terrain became a strategic disadvantage.
Communication between Krall ships became increasingly chaotic. Their rigid military structure couldn't comprehend the fluid, adaptive human response.
Every time they thought they understood human tactics, the resistance changed completely. Han watched from their mountain communication center. The holographic maps showed something unprecedented. A species defending itself not through overwhelming force, but through creativity. Through adaptation.
Jinwu's teams used guerrilla tactics learned from decades of military experience.
Hit-and-run strategies that turned entire mountain ranges into deadly traps. The Krall's advanced technology became a weakness in terrain they couldn't understand. Unji's communication systems continued sending false signals,
making the human resistance appear simultaneously weak and overwhelmingly strong. The Krall leadership began to doubt their own intelligence reports.
Rhea monitored the entire operation, providing real-time tactical insights.
Her alien perspective combined with human creativity created a defense strategy no computer could have predicted.
Days turned into weeks.
The Krall invasion, expected to last days, became a months-long nightmare of constant adaptation and unexpected resistance.
Human creativity proved to be the most powerful weapon.
No rigid military structure could compete with a species that could transform fishing boats into weapons, communication systems into misdirection tools, and local terrain into a living, breathing defense mechanism. The final blow came not from a massive military operation, but from hundreds of small, coordinated actions. The Krall leadership realized something terrifying: they were not fighting an organized military. They were fighting an entire planet's adaptive spirit. One by one, Krall ships began retreating. Their technological superiority meant nothing against a species that refused to be conquered.
That could turn every limitation into an opportunity.
Han, Jinwu, Unji, and Rhea watched from their mountain base as the last alien ships disappeared. Not through massive firepower, but through something far more powerful:
human spirit.
The invasion was over. Earth had not just survived. It had redefined what resistance could mean.